the ad goes, "What the bitch who's about to steal your man wears." So now the protagonist that's being spoken to in this ad must rush out and buy what the bitch who's about to steal her man is wearing so that she can compete. That's a really healthy remedy to the problem. But this whole build-up of venom and violence, there's so many programs today. I'm not speaking about individual programs in particular, I'm just talking about the milieu. Whether these programs have a certain local good, street level good, is a whole other debate. But the fact of their existence is a way to expatiate the phallic principle and also the drive for vengeance and justice that we're actually denied in the world. You see, in olden days, it wasn't quite the same way. In previous ages, you pretty much could take justice into your own hands. And whether that's right or wrong, again, is a very separate question. But the fact is, you could do it in previous days. In the modern age, you cannot. Now, if you turn something like that off in relatively recent historical times, that's going to matter to the human consciousness. That's going to build up a lot of inner repression. So how do you vacate it? You can't have everybody running amok. So you use the ubiquitous media oracle by putting on televisions that show constant violence and bloodshed and corpses and forensics and whatnot. It helps to exercise a lot of this repression. The fascination with death and corpses and crime. Astrologers are telling us that the planet Pluto, which rules the underworld and the underworld process and the dark side of the human consciousness, the underside of human nature, and some of the more limbic basic drives, is going to be soon coming into prominent position in the sky. Don't want to get into all the astrology in this program, but this planet Pluto is going to be dominant in the heavens in a very few years, which means that there's going to be more need for the processing of this darker content. Ergo, Madison Avenue and the Hollywood and the corporations know this. So that's why we're having more of these forensic programs and involving corpses and dead bodies and mortuaries and morgues. Pick up an astrology book and understand that the sign of Scorpio and the planet Pluto have a lot to do with that. The secrets of life and the secrets of death in a biological concept, investigating the secrets of power and sexuality and the hidden side of consciousness. So all of this is on the celestial clock. And so we have the question of justice, a perfectly normal human drive, but we have it in a repressed way. And of course America, as we know, is fixated with the concept of law and court dramas. From Perry Mason to Kramer versus Kramer to Kill a Mockingbird. Just think in your mind's eye how many cops and robbers and good cop, bad cop and courtroom dramas there are on television. There's thousands of them. The list is almost unlimited because there's this preoccupation with this particular facet of human nature, the concept of justice and courts and right and wrong. The idea being that if you're not getting justice in your own life, that's okay, you can watch it on TV. So now we've looked at what's being done. Now we need to go into greater depth to look at who's doing what to whom. We've spoken in other programs in this series about the occult history of the world and the occult history of America. Let's take a little moment to look at exactly how that plays in the context of this particular thesis. Talking of the establishment, Arthur S. Miller from George Washington University, the law professor there, he says that those who formally rule take their signals and commands not from the electorate as a body, but from a small group of men plus a few women. This group will be called the establishment. It exists even though that existence is stoutly denied. It is one of the secrets of the American social order. A second secret is the fact that the existence of the establishment, the ruling class, is not supposed to be discussed. On the American $1 bill, you see an old symbol, the pyramid, with 13 layers, with a detached pyramidon at the top, with an eye, the all-seeing eye. This symbol is the symbol of a super secret society coming out of Bavaria, Germany, called the Illuminati. It's just one of the many powerful secret societies operating in the world, but in an American context, it's very important because it infiltrated Freemasonry and is now dominant in the world. And many of the corporations and organizations that I'm talking about take their orders from, these secret societies. And we know this primarily through the study of symbolism. Now, the leader of the Illuminati in the 1700s was Adam Weishaupt. His picture is on the left. When he died, he passed the mantle on to Giuseppe Mazzini, the famous Italian revolutionary, who then passed it on to the American Albert Pike, who was very active in the Civil War in this country. He was the creator of the Ku Klux Klan also, and he was the bringer of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, that system, to America. The Illuminati was officially founded on May 1st, 1776, which is, of course, very close to America's official birthday of July 4th, 1776. The Illuminati have been involved in fomenting many wars and revolutions throughout the world. As Alois Hoffmann, the editor of the Journal de Vienna, said, "I shall never cease to repeat that the French Revolution has come from Masonry, and that it was made by the writers and the Illuminati." And the Illuminati and these secret societies are very adept at the use of symbolism in order to communicate to their members and to the world. If you take that dollar bill, for instance, in the pyramid that I was just talking about, and you inscribe a six-pointed star around that pyramid, you'll find that the points of the triangle touch letters. And if you write those letters out, you'll find that it says Mason, M-A-S-O-N. And is that not what the Masons were? The builders of the pyramid, the Freemasons, the keepers of the guilds, and the mystery of temple building and city design and so on. So we might ask, what is a Masonic symbol, a symbol of the Freemasons, doing on the $1 bill of America? Well, if you go back to the 1700s and look at the original Illuminati documents that Adam Weishaupt, this is a known secret society that has a birthday, those documents have that exact same symbol on the front of them. Symbols are telling us something. But again, it's hidden in plain sight. On the same dollar bill, just as a case in point, we are inundated with symbolism. We have the Star of David above the eagle's head with 13 stars. We have 32 feathers in one wing and 33 feathers in another, representing the unison of the 32nd and 33rd degree of Freemasonry. The eagle holds olive branches, which of course is from the Semitic line of ancient times. And the arrows, that symbol of the eagle with the olive branches and the arrows, actually comes from the Semitic tribe of Manasseh, or Manasseh. That's one of the 12 tribes of Israel. That's why there's a Star of David over its head. It also comes from the House of Rothschild from the 14th century in Frankfurt, Germany. The banking cartel, the power dynasty. Lord Rothschild, his eagle had 5 arrows originally for his 5 sons that would be sent into all the countries of the world to open banks there. And as history books prove, it was this dynasty that fomented the wars between the European powers, all funded by the same single family, the banking dynasty, the Rothschilds, who are operating in America through a variety of fronts. The occultist A.E. Waite, a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, said that beneath the broad tide of human history there flow the stealthy undercurrents of the secret societies, which frequently determine in the depths the changes that take place on the surface. Benjamin Disraeli, who spent his whole life uncovering secret societies and warning the world, he was the first Jewish Prime Minister of England. He said of this, "The government of this country has not only to deal with governments, kings and ministers, but also with secret societies, elements which must be taken into account, which at the last moment can bring our plans to nothing, which have agents everywhere, who incite assassinations and can, if necessary, lead a massacre." And Albert Pike himself, talking about the means by which the control of the secret societies is exercised, in his letter to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871, he says, "We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will clearly show to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then, everywhere the citizenry, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, anxious for an ideal, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer." So these Luciferians are literally telling you that they are at the helm and that they have a policy, a concept, an order out of chaos. Under the pyramid of the Illuminati, it says the Novus Ordo Seclorum, the New World Order. And above it, it's presenting this. Here we present for you, by way of our machinations, a new world order. They have an operating manual, and it's known in their own terms as Ordo ab Chaos, order out of chaos, to create so much foment and upheaval in the world and chaos politically, socially, and economically, that then their agenda will move forward. And in this series, we've explored several of the ways in which this is done. Giuseppe Mazzini, in his own words, talks about the hierarchy. He says, "We form an association of brothers in all points of the globe, yet there is one unseen that can hardly be felt, yet it weighs on us. Whence comes it? Where is it? No one knows, or at least no one tells. This association is secret, even to us, the veterans of the secret societies." So here's the head of the Illuminati himself saying, hey, there's a power even above us. Well, of course there is. In all pyramidical structures, in all hierarchies, there's higher puppet masters. You think it goes for the secret societies? And then we doubt that the corporations operate in the same way? Albert Pike said again, emphasizing their beliefs, in addition to the letter he wrote to Mazzini in 1871, another he wrote to the heads of his Palladian councils on July 14th, 1889, happened to fall into the hands other than intended. It was written to explain the Luciferian dogma concerning worship of Satan and worship of Lucifer. In it, he said in part, "That which we say to the crowd is we worship God. The religion should be by all us initiates of the higher degrees, maintained in the purity of the Lucifer doctrine. Yes, Lucifer is God." Now these are not some cult cranks or some little society, little nickel and dime society that is operating in some broken down house in the center of the city or in a suburb somewhere. This isn't some hocus pocus. These are the leaders of the most powerful secret societies in the world. If you're coming to this for the first time, please make use of the other programs in this series where we do a more thorough introduction and elaboration on these secret societies and how they impact the world of the modern times. Now, one of the men approached long ago by the Illuminati who exposed them was John Robertson. He wrote a book called Proofs of a Conspiracy, which dates from 1798. He was a professor in the university who was approached by agents of the Illuminati trying to get him to join. And soon he discovered who and what these people were all about. And he exposed them in this incredible book. And he quotes Weishaupt, who says, "The great strength of our order lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but always covered by another name and another occupation. None is fitter than the 3 lower degrees of Freemasonry. The public is accustomed to it, expects little from it, and therefore takes little notice of it." Just like Freemasonry, which it infiltrated, it has levels of initiation. And at each level, the individual is only given partial knowledge. He says, "These good folk swell our numbers and fill our money box. Set yourselves to work. These gentlemen must be made to nibble at the bait. But this sort of people must always be made to believe that the grade they have reached is the last." It's the same system that works in the schools and colleges of the world. Yes, you know something, but you're mostly in ignorance. 3/4 of everything in this world is shrouded in ignorance. Nobody is given to understand in completion, because first of all, we're not using our whole brain, and secondly, we've got a campaign that dumbs us down and keeps us sequestered. Remember, we're not being taught how to think, we're being taught what to think. Now, the Duke of Brunswick, the Grand Master of World Freemasonry in the 1700s, understood that a secret society of great power and also great techniques was infiltrating his order. And he stood up, like many original Freemasons in this country in America, stood up and said, "We have to disband the whole of Freemasonry. I mean, this thing that's thousands of years old, we're going to have to disband it completely because it's been infected." Unfortunately, that did not happen. In his own words, the Duke of Brunswick says, "I have been convinced that we, as an order, have come under the power of some very evil occult order, profoundly versed in science, both occult and otherwise. Though not infallible, their methods being black magic, that is to say, electromagnetic power, hypnotism, and powerful suggestion. We are convinced that this order is being controlled by some sun order, after the nature of the Illuminati, if not by that order itself." So it's okay for the Duke of Brunswick, the head of Freemasonry, to tell you that there's secret societies operating in the world, that they're using black magic, and then for him to even underscore that and delineate and tell you, no, this is electromagnetic, hypnotic suggestion. the very powers we've been talking about in this program. But if somebody on the street was to tell you this, you'd look at them as if